Welcome to the lighter side of the dark side. It's your weekly freak show here on Renegade Radio. Also, Steel Waves Radio, Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Stitcher. In India, you're getting us on a weird, obscure station. It's the Dark Mark Show. I'm Dark Mark, the goth comedian. And Hannah should be joining us soon. I don't know what's going on. Last time this happened, she got in a car accident, so I don't want to call her, but later. It's all right. She's not going to get in a car accident today, I'm sure.
Okay. Like, I don't need that on me.
But the thing is, she would be thrilled because our guest is wearing a Motorhead shirt, and
That's right.
The rainbow. She loves Lemmy, and we could go into all sorts of Lemmy talk. But we're talking to Charley Tichener of DirtyCakes.
That's me.
Singer, guitar player. I wish I had discovered this band while there was still live music, because I've seen live footage of you guys, and it looks great.
Oh, well, thank you. We try to have a good time. You know, I think that's the number one thing, is try to enjoy yourself and put on a show. I mean, why not put on a show, right? People leave their house. You're competing with Pornhub and Netflix and, Postmates. Like, we got to make sure that it's worthwhile for somebody to put on pants and go out and deal with other people. Like, I don't know if you've met other people. I know it's been a while since I've been outside, but you got to make sure that it's worth it if anybody's going to brave that nonsense.
And I got to tell people are watching this on YouTube. You had that beard before the pandemic.
Yes. This has just been the way that I wear my face. Yes, it's much easier than actually shaving.
And I'm sure we've also passed each other in Los Feliz, which is where we both live. If I'm not.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I just went to the Albertsons, which, by the way, has one of the best Instagram accounts.
Oh no, they follow me. They comment on my stuff all the time.
It's so good. So good. If you all around the world, the local grocery store has one of the best Instagram accounts that trolls random people, and it's amazing. It is
good. It is good. Shout out to Los Feliz Albertsons, and we're going to talk about Instagram because you got quite a following, and you're verified and all that. All that, and go ahead, crack that open.
Oh yeah, sorry, just got my.
I know they sponsor you.
Death, by the way, I don't know if you know about the Liquid Death, but
tell us about Liquid Death. Get the plug in.
Oh no, I mean it's this like Austrian Alp like seltzer water or something. I don't know, but we're friends with the guys that run it, and they hooked us up, and it's it's good, man. Like I everybody's got the LaCroix of the world and all sorts of other foo-foo stuff. This is just good. So I just happened to have it because I was thirsty, and we're going to talk for an hour, so I needed to drink it.
Funny you should mention that, because the podcast is sponsored by Raze Energy Drink, and I have Raze right here. And I love energy drinks, and I've had them all. I've tried Steven Seagal's. I've tried the one with the horny goat weed. I've tried them all. This is the best. Raze Energy Drink. 0 sugar, 0 carbs, 0 crash. This is a new flavor I'm trying today. I tried the Baja Lime, which was just like Baja Blast and Taco Bell. Tried the Voodoo, which is like fruit punch. This is sour gummy worms.
All right, I like that. Who doesn't like sour gummy worms?
See how it tastes.
There we go. Corporate.
That's pretty cool. Sours, I thought. That's good.
Yeah.
Go to when this is posted on YouTube or on podcast sites, there will be a link where you get 15% off a case of Raze Energy Drink.
There you go.
Also, we're sponsored by Audible. You go to audibletrial.com/DMS. You get 2 free books, or one free book and 2 Audible originals. You're on the road. You're listening to audiobooks.
Johnny Cash and. So if you like, I don't know, what's another great one? You know what? I think that's one of the best books of all time. But I also like David and Goliath by if you're into the whole marketing world and whatnot, you know.
Yeah, it's Audible. You get 2 free audiobooks or 1 free audiobook and 2 free Audible originals. They have all sorts of crazy. The Audible originals you got everything from John Lithgow to Kate McKinnon, Billy Crystal, all sorts of things. Kevin Hart's got a new one. Just go to Audible and free entertainment.
There
you
go.
Cancel anytime, you still keep the free books. And we're also sponsored by Hustler Hollywood and Spy Associates. So fucking spy on people. We have coupon codes for 20% off both of those. So DirtyCakes is the band.
That's me.
That's you. And your bandmates aren't too shabby either because
no.
You got Becky from Lunachicks is the drummer. Is she not?
That's right. Becky from the Lunachicks. She's on drums. She also played in La Muerte, but she's an OG Lunachicks drummer. First couple records, all the world tours, played at Reading Festival '92, and she's OG. And then Rick.
Rick used to play with the English Beat.
Yeah, I spent 12 years on a bus playing lead guitar and two-step ska, traveling the world. That doesn't suck.
Yeah, and by the way, Hannah Bach, Hannah's unfortunately she won't be able to make it, but she said that she loved your songs.
Thank you.
She's sorry she couldn't make it. Next time we hopefully will all be in the studio, and she said fuck Trump. So
there you go. Well, mazel tov to her. Yeah.
So from what I understand, and you grew up in Washington D.C.
Yeah. I'm a military brat, but grew up. My parents were both officers, so spent age 4 to 18 in Northern Virginia, in the Beltway, as it were.
Which accounts for you being so politically active.
I think it has something to do with it. Absolutely. When you grow up and that is the local culture, then it is hard to ignore it.
But you see the culture for what it is.
Well, yeah, absolutely. When you grow up in that area and when you grow up there, every one of my friends was it was a very transient town. People don't realize that about DC and Northern Virginia, but every 2 years, every 4 years, every 6 years, like your friends cycle in and out, right? Because they're all working for, everybody's parents either works for the military, works for the government, and their government job probably has them there for a couple of years at a time before they go back to whatever state they came from. And then you got the people that just live there and like have, seafood shops and dry cleaning, taekwondo studios, etc. Right.
And, but the music scene there, from what, I only know really from the music scene really from like Bad Brains to Dave Grohl was from there. And that's kind of where my family
from the same hometown.
That's a good, 80s, but what happened since then?
Well, I think, in the 80s, there's a great punk scene, and there's, you've also got there's a good straight edge punk movement from there. Ian MacKaye and all those guys are also from that area. But I think ultimately just, when scenes happen there, it's just this great culmination. And usually it's because there's this really good cross-section of really motivated individuals, people with time and the resources and the clubs. And those scenes tend to not be really evergreen. Like New York didn't exist as it was a great music scene. And then while there's still great bands there, it's not that culture that creates a movement that speaks to people around the world, right? Like there's still the same clubs, like the 930 Club has been there fucking forever. But, then you had, Minneapolis and you had Seattle and you had, another LA thing and you have Philly and you have, New York.
I was in San Diego when that was happening. And
yeah, so you have all that stuff that's always happening. 10, 15 years ago, there was this big, mall core, screamo stuff all happening out of Central Florida. You know what I mean? Like all the Tampa area kids and the Destin. And there's something to that where it's just, at some point in time, there's a certain amount of people that are all like-minded with the same amount of opportunity and time and that can speak for the general public in a way that becomes compelling and gets them in and out of their own ecosystem. But the clubs in DC are still playing their shows every single night. There's a lot of great punk bands. There's a whole lot of good stuff happening in the music scene there in Northern Virginia and DC, Southern Maryland. And for that effect too, there's up until the shutdown of what was happening here, there was something really great and organic happening in LA that, I've been in LA for 8 years and it's the most powerful thing that I've seen in person in LA. And I know a lot of other people that have been in and out of being here for 20 years. And everybody was saying this is absolutely something that's much bigger than just the people. a lot of times live music clubs and scenes are just like bands playing to their friends and like whatever else is going on. But very rarely do you get an opportunity where you pull in other people from other walks of life that are just going to experience the experience, you know? And there's something really great happening in the Silver Lake, Echo Park, Los Feliz area with a lot of those bands, including also downtown. But you had you know, DIY music festivals and different DIY venues and great clubs. You know, we've lost like 2 or 3 of those clubs in the last week or so.
You've been featured in a few articles now. The Satellite, which was formerly Spaceland.
Yeah, we were the last band to play. I mean, you know, we were the last show. You know, technically we weren't the last band of the night, so I have to give credit to Celeste and Ms. Neon of Princess to being the last band to play on that stage. But we were the last show. It was our record release party, and we're actually working on a live record right now to release as like the last night at the Satellite.
Oh, okay.
Which is going to be, it sounds phenomenal because our buddy Lloyd.
It was sweet though.
He was the sound guy, yeah. So we actually close mic'd everything and made a whole record out of it.
I love the Satellite. I go back to when it was Spaceland, and it's a shame.
I mean, it's a tragedy. We also, the factory downtown LA shut down, and House of Machines shut down. You know, for what it's worth, every venue that we recorded a live album at shut down. It's a bad thing. Like, we got to stop recording live records.
No more live records for you guys.
No more live records. Thankfully, the studio album is like this fucking close to being done. We got one or two. We got one guitar solo and then a little punch up on another song, and then we're good to go. We actually did a sneak preview of it this weekend, where we did this like Instagram live, and it's still up, and you can still watch it on our Instagram TV. Yeah. But we just hit play and just had a listening party, you know, and I think we had like 1,000 some odd people. So
great.
Fucking rad, right? Like dozens and dozens of comments, people back and forth telling us what songs they like, which ones they don't like. And, you know, and there's funny, after that drove home, and on the way home, Rodney from Rodney on the Rocks, he's now on Little Steven's Underground Garage, played one of the first tracks off the record.
Oh, so wow.
Great. On the way home. So now it's on Sirius XM. It was just this.
Rodney's still breaking bands.
Yeah, Rodney, he's the king of the Sunset Strip for a reason. You know what I mean?
No, I've met Rodney. I didn't know he was still DJing.
Oh yeah, no, he's got a show in Little Steven's Underground Garage, Channel 21 on Sirius XM. It's phenomenal.
I can see you guys fitting there.
Yeah, it's Little Steven from
Bruce Springsteen's band.
Yeah, the Bruce Springsteen, the E Street Band. And he's got all these other DJs. Drew Carey actually has this amazing Friday night show that's phenomenal. I saw Drew Carey at the Satellite at an art show, and everybody's all like, "Oh, it's Drew Carey, Drew Carey!" And he came up, and we were like, you know, I was chatting there with the artist who was having an art show, and he like bought some photograph or something, and I was like, "Hey man, fucking love your show on Fridays." I drive home, and he pulled over his girlfriend. He's like, "Hey, he likes my show." She's like, yeah. It's like, no, the radio show. She's like,
yeah, not The Price is Right.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I think I've seen one episode of him as the host of Price is Right. I used to run into him at Swingers.
Yeah.
His radio show is phenomenal.
Yeah, I haven't heard. I look forward to hearing. You know, he used to have a show on Sirius that was great. I don't know. I think they took it off, but I haven't had it in a while. But Fred Schneider from the B-52s had the best show on Sirius.
Oh man!
You ever hear that one?
To hear that.
Oh, it was so good. He played so much weird, a mix of just punk and funk that you never heard.
That's amazing. You know, back in the day, before I moved to California, I was a Sirius XM radio personality on a network called Bubba the Love Sponge, and I was this afternoon drive time.
I know Bubba the Love Sponge, sure.
Yeah, so I was the afternoon guy on Bubba the Love Sponge radio network on BRN, Bubba Army.
Oh, wow.
Well, I will guarantee you what didn't happen. Totally what didn't happen was the lawsuit of the sex tape with Hulk Hogan and Gawker taking the company out of business completely didn't coincide with the exact month that I left Central Florida and moved to LA. And it had nothing to do with any charges going around to anything dealing with Bubba. 100% did not happen like that.
You had nothing to do with the Hulk Hogan sex tape.
Nothing. I had nothing to do with the Hulk Hogan sex tape.
You just happened to be able to afford going from Tampa to Los Angeles.
There may have been some coinciding timing-wise, I promise. But that's actually where the name Charley Waffles came from, was from an old bit of The Afternoon with Shannon Burke.
I remember Shannon Burke. Yeah, I've heard. I listened to him a couple times.
Yeah, I was. You know how on like Howard Stern, there's the Jackie the Joke Man Martling or the Artie Lang character. Yeah. I was that guy.
Okay.
So I was that guy for Shannon Burke show, and then for Scott Ledge, Dangerous Conversations with Ledge at 8 o'clock.
Well, I can see I'm talking to the Forrest Gump of L.A. hipster show business. Now, were you playing in bands then, or is this something that just come lately?
No, I was playing in bands. I've been playing in bands for a long, long time. In Orlando, I was in a couple bands. I had my own band called the Lunachicks, which is like a national touring act. And you can go back and find that, and you can see the source of like where a lot of DirtyCakes stuff was. That was the first band where I was really writing a lot of stuff and trying to take lead with it. I was also in a band called Room Full of Strangers, which was like a political punk rock band. And we wore like ski masks and went and did stuff. And like we had like our vinyl records were $10,000 so that you couldn't buy them. You just had to come to the show.
Well, that's hilarious.
We would throw like concert series all the time. So we would throw our own big events. We had a thing called Bread and Circuses, right? Like the old Roman shit. And we would just have like fire breathers and burlesque dancers and like live painters. And there would happen to be bands playing with like an overhead projectionist person. And then like, somebody doing barbecue. It was just like a fucking crazy like New York like style party.
Yeah.
Like a warehouse party in New York, but we would do it in central fucking Florida when it was like 110 degrees outside. And well, people don't keep their clothes on for too long. I
would imagine not. Now, how did you go from Washington to Florida? How did that happen?
I went there basically. I was kicked out of my house 2 weeks after I graduated high school for smoking pot with my military family. And I moved into a friend's basement, and then eventually went to Florida to get into recording engineering school. So I went there to basically learn how to go make records for a living. And got an apartment, student loans, and then followed up and did some more, and basically just floated that whole thing, But it was college basically more than anything else.
And then you ended up on the radio.
Yeah, I ended up on the radio. It was weird. Like I was doing at the time. I had gone to the local college, and I got in a Saturday morning, 5 a.m. college radio show, which is like the worst time in the world, especially if you're in a band. Like I'd have a show 2 hours out of town. Like I'd have a show in Jacksonville Friday night, and I'd leave at 2:30, race home, drop the band off and drop the trailer, and then drive to the radio station and then do 2 hours of the show. It was brutal.
I can imagine, yeah.
But eventually I turned that show into something that we were getting, a couple hundred listeners when I started, and I got it to about 10,000. And then they moved me into the noon o'clock slot weekdays. So I had the noon to 2 slot. And I turned that show into, upper 5, lower 6-figure range market share. And then I moved into drive time at another FM station, while I was also, at the same time, I was going to AM stations where Shannon Burke, I was answering phones for him at an AM station, being the phone guy. Right. And I started like the day after Memorial Day. It was like a Tuesday. And by Friday, I was an on-air personality. And we went through that mom, that young girl, I forgot her name, but she like killed her kid and then blamed it on the pizza that was in like the trunk of her car.
Oh, okay.
And, I don't know if you remember what I'm talking about.
I remember, but I don't remember the name. I wish I did.
Yeah, I can't remember her name either. But yeah, so we did that. And then Bubba picked us up and moved the whole crew out to Tampa.
And I don't think people realize here how big Bubba and Shannon Burke were.
No, I mean, it's like one notch below like Howard Stern. I mean, it was huge. I mean, when we were doing Bubba, it was a couple million listeners a day.
Like nationwide, obviously, Howard Stern has a bigger audience, but in Tampa, he was the man.
Oh, yeah, no, nobody's bigger than him. Absolutely. Yeah. Like, there's nothing like if you're in LA and you think of, like, I don't know. I mean, think of all of your morning show, shock jock, morning zoo nonsense shows, and put every show in the entire state as one guy, and then make him a little bit better than that, and that'd be like half of what Bubba did. Because he ended up building his entire own radio network, which is crazy. And then he owned a couple strip clubs and a couple speedboats, and he was in Florida. And
then he let Hulk Hogan fuck his wife, and
And then he got sued by Gawker, and then he ended up suing Gawker, put them out of business, and then canceled his radio career. And now I guess he's back at it.
But you had nothing to do with that.
So, absolutely nothing, I promise.
So you come to LA. Now, how do you meet? I mean, this is almost a super group. How do you meet the drummer for Lunachicks? Well, here's the story that I read.
Yeah.
You guys would jam in Cantor's.
Yeah, Canter Deli. Every Tuesday night. So there's been a jam.
I didn't know there was a jam session in Cantor's.
Yeah, every Tuesday night in Cantor's, there's a little bar next to it called the Kibitz Room.
Right.
There's a jam night that's been going on there for like 20 years, right? And like that jam night, I mean, sometimes you'll get like Slash will come in, or you get like Ringo will come in, or you just get all these crazy rock stars, right?
Yeah.
Because they're all LA, most of them are LA guys, and all the core band at Cantor's on a Tuesday night, it's called the Fockers, the Friends of Cantor's Kibitz Room. Okay. The core outfit is basically all LA native session musicians. Right. So they all they're touring musicians. So all like weekend warrior guys that fly around the country from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, fly back on Monday. Then Tuesday's their day off, and they go down Tuesday night and they play for sandwiches, and they just rock out together. And so I found Rick there because he is one of the guys that runs that thing. He's been like the primary guitar player guy there for like, I don't know, 10 years or something like that. Probably much longer than that. And so I met him there, and I was, tooling around, playing music. And I think at the time also that I met him, I was also a regular at the Comedy Store, but because I hadn't put a band together yet. And it basically became a time a little while later where
I'm pretty sure we've met because I think we've done shows together. I have a feeling. Your voice is becoming more and more familiar to me.
Good. Well, usually my hair was longer then. It goes through phases of really long and short.
But Charley, well, it's coming back to me. I know we've met before.
All right, cool. Well, awesome.
For some reason, you're not recognizing me, but I sometimes have makeup on. It's the whole thing.
You go.
But so you were between comedy and music.
Yeah, well, when I landed in LA, some of my friends that I knew in LA were comedians at the Comedy Store, just trying to get put on, right? Trying to be somebody. So I went to the Comedy Store and was like, hey, I'm the guy. I was on Bubba the Love Sponge radio network. I was on Sirius XM, do a couple million people a week. Yeah. And I was kind of like the joke guy. Can I come on and do a set? And I did it upstairs in the belly room. The belly room, yeah. With Crazy Cindy and her bringer shows. And,
yes.
Yeah, and about my third show, I went from being the last guy on to the person when she would get a celebrity. Like, I remember the first time I did something with somebody big, like Sarah Silverman wanted to like do a set, and so I was the guy that basically went on before her, right? And so and then after like 2 months, I was the guy regularly every week when people wanted to work out material but not be in the OR or the main room. I'd be the guy that opened for them in the belly room. Yeah. And then Tommy, the guy that puts everybody on in the belly room, came up to watch one of those, and I think it was Dave Atell, who was just in town, just wanted to do something. But everybody, I think Dave Chappelle was in the main room and bumped everybody. Mark Maron was in the OR, so when Dave Atell rolled in, there was no other stage for him, so he just went up to the belly room and like bumped everybody, and I was the one guy on stage beforehand. And so Tommy got to see me do my shtick there, where my stand-up shtick was basically go on stage, tell one or two bad jokes until somebody like heckled me, and then I would eviscerate them like every caller on the radio I had done on Sirius XM for years.
Right.
And it was just crowd work. It was just me heckling people, and it worked. And then I got put on. But yeah, so I was doing that, and I met Rick, and then eventually it got to the point where I was playing with a couple guys, and the bass player was a much better drummer than the drummer was. And then Rick, I was like, hey, Rick, we're going to go like to make this thing. And why don't you come with your bass? I had never heard the bass player play drums, but I knew he had to be better than the drummer I was jamming with.
Right.
And so we got into a room at this rehearsal studio that's defunct now called Cascade. And within 2 hours, the band was formed. And about 1.5 years or 2 years later, we had a fill-in drummer that had left. And Rick had just done this funeral party with Becky, where this guy was dying, and basically instead of having a funeral after he was dead, he's just like, I'm gonna invite all my friends over. He was terminally ill, you know. Yeah. Like, I'm gonna invite all my friends over to the house. We're gonna have a fucking rager, and we're gonna have a house band, and he just wanted to enjoy his funeral, basically.
That's great. That's cool.
And so they ended up meeting in that house band, and when the time came where like, hey, we need to take this thing for real, and we got a spot, Becky was the first call, and we basically got in a room on a Tuesday and had a show that Friday at the Maui Sugar Mill. And she learned 25 minutes, which is all the longer our set really was. Right. And you know, now you know, it's you know, that was a couple years ago, and we've just been banging shit out.
So your first show was in Tarzana?
Yeah, the first gig was in Tarzana with Becky. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think we had a Tarzana show, we had a downtown show, and then we had a show at Madame Siam Underground, a Houston's bar gig.
Okay.
Where we were basically...
Who came up with DirtyCakes?
That'd be me. So it's basically...
What a surprise.
Yeah. And so it was like an inside joke with a group of friends of mine. You know, it's just basically like an anti-phrase where you call like a fat guy slim and a guy with no hair, you call him curly, stuff like that. So it was just sort of using an anti-phrase to kind of make a joke with something. We thought that given there's a whole bunch of like little scenes and subcultures of people in LA, and there's a really large one that several of us have been in and out of over the years, and that has a good meaning to them. And so we kind of latched onto it because apparently nobody else had done it. And I love a band name that means absolutely nothing, but also does mean something. I think those are the best, like AC/DC doesn't mean shit, but it also does. Like Foo Fighters doesn't really, like I love band names like that where you're not attaching too much meaning to the value. Like Metallica, you know what you're getting.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? DirtyCakes is up in the air, so it really meant that we could kind of go in any direction that we wanted, and we could feel it out. We weren't predestined.
It's pretty evocative, though.
It was good. It was a good move at the time. You know, it stuck with it, and there was nobody else on Instagram at the time with that handle, nobody on Twitter, and no bands registered with BMI or ASCAP, so we snapped it up and moved forward.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, what does DirtyCake taste like?
There's got to be some chocolate and probably some bacon. And salt. Yeah,
salt.
Let's go with that.
Okay, so a little sweet and sour.
A little sweet and savory with some salty.
Savory.
Yeah.
So so I mean, these are like I say, these are some pretty decent musicians you're playing with. If the bass player is holding court at Canter's with all these rock stars and tour with the English Beat, not an original member, I'm sure, but.
Yeah, he's like the Jason.
He's good enough to be there for 12 years. I mean, that's pretty. That's a
yeah. I mean, in the English Beat, he was the lead guitar player, and really in DirtyCakes, he's effectively the lead instrument player. Mm-hmm. Like,
that's the other thing. Yeah, he's a guitar player, really.
One of the things that we do in DirtyCakes is I only play baritone guitars, so I'm tuned way the hell down, like heavy metal style tuning, or like. New metal, like this, like really low down, which is what the modern variation of it is. But also, I grew up listening to surf rock, like the Beach Boys. Half of that stuff is played on a baritone. Like they're using, you have a baritone guitar, you have a regular guitar, and you have a bass guitar, and that's where you feel, the different, wherever you are on the piano when you're writing music. Mm-hmm. So I play down in the baritone section. So the bass and I generally occupy more or less the same frequency range. Which means that if he wants to do a solo, he can climb way up on the neck and do all of the shit that he toured the world with the English Beat and do all sorts of fun licks. And I can just bang away on guitar. And then if I want to go up high, he can handle the low end, but we can orchestrate each other as though we can trade off positions in the arrangement. But the only reason I play baritone guitar is because I can't hit high notes. So I just tune the guitar like, 5 or 6 notes, and then I can get all the high ones.
Okay. So he doesn't feel it's a demotion or anything for playing bass.
Yeah. No, he plays lead bass. Like, it is absolutely like, he is the majority of the songs. There's 1 or 2 songs where I have like a solo, but the majority of the time he's just shredding the entire time over me playing like power chords. And then on the solo, when I take a guitar solo, he goes from way up here on the neck to way down here, and then I take the high note.
A little Motorhead.
Exactly.
Motorhead-ish,
exactly. Yes. Absolutely. Exact same thing. Only instead of playing an E, we play an A sharp.
Got it.
So it's just like, scoot one butt cheek over to the left on the piano bench and play the exact same song.
I'll be sure to do that. Now, who else? Because it's I've been listening to a lot. There's a lot of different influences there that I'm catching. Who else has influenced you?
I mean, I think for songwriting, there's a lot of times where when we're writing tunes, I mean, I'll tell you this: when I'm writing stuff, and the band writes things, when I'm sitting down in my house and like writing stuff, like I've got this guitar over here, and I got a million other ones lying around that are always like readily available, right? Like I got this little Mosrite, which is dumb,
right?
But it's fun. I'll always I'm a really obsessive guy, so I'll obsess over like certain records, right? And I'll be like, damn, that's a really good song. I'm jealous that I didn't write it. So then I'll just obsess over it and figure out a way of like, how can I do that, And so that'll happen whether it's Velvet Underground or Queens of the Stone Age, whether it's Motorhead or Nirvana, whether it's a newer band like Plague Vendor or like the Zombies, right? Like whatever we're getting into, I generally will get really obsessive into a certain style until like I just find something that like, oh, I could do that. And like, oh, I really want to. That's speaking to me in some way that I think is cool. And about 1 out of 9 or 10 of those ideas that I think is cool makes it past like one rehearsal. Because usually, like we literally stop songs midway because Becky's like, this is fucking boring. And I was like, well, let's do something. She's like, no, this is stupid. What's next? Like her bullshit thing. She said,
it's good to have somebody, call you on your bullshit, yeah.
Yeah, because Rick is the kind of guy where he'll make any song catchy. But Becky's just like, I don't care. Like, you can play this song, just get somebody else to play drums on it, because I'm not going to do it. And I'm like, all right, cool, not good enough. Let's go back and do some more shit.
That's great. And I heard that the Lunachicks were going to reunite. Was she part of that or no?
Yeah, there was they were going to do a reuniting at a punk rock bowling in Vegas, and had a couple of things going on. So she was not going to be in the live band of them reuniting.
Right.
They were going to bring on the drummer after her, but she was very much a part of the whole process. It was just a matter of, record label politics and all sorts of things like that, But so she was.
Is that going to cause a conflict with you guys?
Well, I mean, I think that, she's got a long history with a lot of different people in the music industry. And I think like what happens with anybody when you know them for long enough, you're going to have really good times, you're going to have really bad times. And I'll say this, Rec is not her Christian given last name. She's got a reputation. And I totally stand by it and endorse it. And I love her for it because you know exactly where you stand and every second of the day. And that's magnificent. However, that level of honesty isn't always the best thing for every personality type.
Okay, well, that's about as cryptic as you can get. I get what's behind it necessarily. So
yeah.
So I'll move on, but she's a great drummer. I mean, there's no question.
No, she's phenomenal. I mean, there's a reason that entire genres and generations of kids grew up listening to like the records that she played on, right? Like we played shows with people that like grew up listening to her, and then we get on the show and they're like people are fangirling out.
Yeah.
Over the drummer. Like I'll say that I've had the luxury of being in probably 2 bands where the drummer behind a kit in a dark room was stealing the show from the front man. And I think that's amazing. And Becky's one of those people because I've been in bands too where like I was the bass player. I've been kicked out of every band that ever had me as a bass player because I ended up taking too much attention away from whoever's personality was up front.
Yeah, bass player can't do that.
Yeah, well, I openly welcome it. I'm of the type of person that says, like, if the band is only built around one personality, then the band is really just a solo project. If you want a band, you need to have 2 or 3 people that are compelling and that are really interesting. Like the Ramones isn't just about Joey. You know what I mean? And
all
like
four are compelling.
Yeah, the Beatles it's not just John. You know what I mean? Or not just Paul or George, whoever your Beatle of choice is. You know, the Jackson 5, like there's, you know, everybody's about Michael, but then there's also like the attainable one. Like there's some Tito fans. You know what I mean? Like you got to have that type of thing. And as somebody who's effectively the front man of the band, I love that I don't have to do everything because Becky's a big enough personality that she can hold her own. And like it pushes me to do a bigger show because, you know, at the end of the shows, you see all like the footage. Like people take out their phones, they do like Instagram lives and stories and stuff, right? And if the whole show is just people getting around other people and taking images of, you know, shots and video of Becky, I know I got to step my game up.
Yeah.
And I'm not threatened by that. I just know that I got to work harder. And then inevitably what happens, I do some shit like that, and then Becky one-ups me. And then it gets to the point where Rick is clearly the more subdued person out of the group, but he gets to the point where he's just got to go, so the people even know there's another person on the stage, so he levels it up. And that type of camaraderie and also friendly competition, I think, really puts across a lot of energy on stage because, I mean, I'll put it this way. After our, like, first few shows, Becky said, like, she made some comment that, like, we were going to kill her because she was just, like, exhausted, like, in a shirt, like, because she plays in, like, her full-on biker armor, right? Like, she plays in, like, which is incredible, but, like, you know, all of us are effectively dead to the world for about 15, 20 minutes by the time we get off stage. Like, I have to change my shirt. Like, I mean, it is obnoxious. But that is also the kind of energy you have to give off on stage. Otherwise, like, why should anybody give a shit?
Exactly. And, you know, but that's, like you said, the best bands are the ones that, you got Daltrey and Townsend, they're playing off each other. You got, you know, they Van Halen, they're playing off each other. I mean, it's like,
absolutely.
There's always things like that. Now, let me ask you, because I found you on Instagram, and I'm glad I did. I'm a big fan. I can't wait for live music to come back so I can see you guys live. But and then the club will close down. But
only if we make a record. We promise not to make any records.
I read some interview where you were talking about because you have a big internet, a big Instagram fan base because you've got famous friends like Ernie C from Body Count and Machete with Dan Trejo is your friend.
Yeah.
How do you meet those guys?
I mean, it's one of those things, man. When you're in LA, like, you know, it's weird. There's just like some of the people that you meet. You know, I mean, I'll tell you, I know Ernie through the Musicians Academy, through the Recording Academy, the Grammys, and I met Danny through another friend that I met at a coffee shop on Vine. Some guy I met outside of the coffee shop, and he was friends with Danny. It's just like one of the things when you're in LA, just like everybody, like it's weird, like your neighbor will be somebody, you know, and like it's bizarre, like how much you don't realize that your neighbors are these like wicked famous people, right? But
yeah.
I mean, you know, I was grocery shopping like. I think I was grocery shopping like a week ago in Albertsons and like Dax Shepard's like the guy behind me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like this guy, there's no reason he's there, right? Like I remember there was a period of time where Bud Bundy and I like ran into each other at least twice a week over on Sunset. Yeah. Like it's LA, man. That's kind of what it is. You know, these are just people working their regular jobs, you know?
I gotta network better. Although I've seen plenty of people in grocery stores, and Dave Navarro was stalking me for a while back in 2013. But
I guarantee you know, if you stop in grocery stores or like the Starbucks in a decent part of town, like if you go to the Starbucks in Studio City or Sherman Oaks, you're gonna run into somebody, or the Ralph's there. Like everyone's got to go get something, you know. So you just if you wanted to be a creeper, you could just go hang out there and eventually you'll see everybody.
Yeah. I've been trying to get Ernie C on the show for a while. Hopefully we can get him soon because it's an interesting story.
Oh, no, Ernie's got a crazy story. We've been talking to him about maybe getting him on the new record, but with COVID and with the lockdown and with the stuff that he's doing, like, you know, he's been taking care of life, you know, and more power to him. I can't fault the guy for the decisions he's making. It's like, oh, I wish I could have you on another song and another lead guitar solo and things like that. But, you know, there's always opportunity, and you got to take advantage of what you got.
Yeah, how bad do you miss live performance?
I mean, it's crazy. It used to be something that we did, like, if we weren't playing a show that day, we were prepping for the next show, promoting it. I miss I miss all of that. And I think the thing more than anything that I miss is that exchange of energy that you have with an audience, I think is something that I realize now I took for granted for a long period of time.
Yeah, I understand.
I mean, when you're on stage, whether it's 5 people in the crowd, empty, or, you know, like when we were playing festivals, like we played Echo Park Rising, it was a sea of people out to the street and then a sea of people on the other side of the window, you know, and like there's something that you get from that is so much more than the parts, right? It's like 2 + 2 = 4,000, you know what I mean? Like there's no way of doing the math, and I think that is something that there are certain personality types that really take to being on stage. And I've always been that kind of person. I feel like I talk a mile a minute. I have a personality that'll fill a room.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
And if I don't have a room with other people to fill, then it's just me and the dog and my girl, and like eventually they're getting sick of me. And so, but like it's good to get that out, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, I'll be honest, like I haven't heard my live rig, my guitar, my pedals, and my amplifier in a room with like people to bounce off since March, and that's bizarre, you know. I mean, I made records and doing stuff, but there's something different when, you know, when you play a club and it's empty and it's really cavernous, and then people come in, and then it feels like you're in a room with.
Mm-hmm.
I miss it, man. You know, I don't think I can put into words about how much of an impact that has, but. I think that while we're really, really eager to get back to it, it's also a really important thing to just recognize how big the fruits of that are, how important that is to us. Because, yeah, this is the longest of my life I've ever gone without being on stage since I was like 18 years old.
Wow. But, I mean, you're making up for it with, I mean, you're doing, you know, you're on a lot of podcasts, you're doing your own interviews. I'm sure you're recording and you're doing stuff like that, but
yeah,
it's not the same. It's hard to explain to people that just have never performed.
Yeah, it's just like it's a piece of your life. It's a part of your personality. It's a part of your identity. You know what I mean? Like Rick and Becky, like that's all they do. You know, like I mean, Rick basically at some point decided to have like a guitar, some pedals, and an amplifier, and just traveled the world with a suitcase and his clothes for like a decade. Like that's all he did, you know what I mean? And Becky basically had a drum kit and traveled all over doing that. Like if that's the only thing that you have when you don't have a way of expressing that and getting it out and doing it, because also people build their personality types around being able to have that exchange of energy, and the value of their life is so dramatically impacted when you don't get to do it. You know, it's like going, it's like, you know, going to a monastery for like 6 months when you're used to, you know, having a very active social life. We'll put it that way.
Like a porn star joins the priesthood.
Yeah, you're gonna find a lacking in some of the things that you used to do just all the time.
So, and what was the reaction to your song Resist 45?
I mean, I think
did you lose any fans off that, or did everybody in the know?
I think we definitely, I mean, I'll tell you this. It's crazy how many fans we have or how much, like, just engagement on Instagram we get talking shit about the political position from people that have been listening forever. It's so crazy. I mean, we got a lot of fans, I think, because of it. I mean, we got, you know, couple 100,000 views on YouTube of the music video. We had, international press are out of it, and all sorts of big stuff. But I think it was Kurt Cobain.
It's an anti-Trump song if people don't know.
Right. Yeah. It's a patriotic anthem, as it were.
It's a pretty blunt anti-Trump song.
Yeah. It's right in the title, and it opens with with sentiment. But I think there's a lot of people that follow along and listen, and we have a lot of things that people like to offer, but that's just one sect of who we are, and that really upsets people or surprises them. I mean, I think we gained a lot of fans because we were doing a lot of work with like Suicide Girls, right? And we were getting a lot of fans because we were doing like a lot of radio stuff, and we had different hits and different friends and all of that stuff. But then you get all these closet folks that come out and just rage whenever you've got an opinion that doesn't necessarily reflect their own narrative. And well, for what it's worth, I'll take that attention all the time, because part of this is you're not in a punk band because I don't think we're doing like punk rock or rock and roll for the express purpose of confronting people. It's about being honest and about community, and part of that honesty and community is helping those that need it and confronting those that oppress equal rights and what we stand for. And it just so happens that right now that is a wildly inflammatory topic that is very politically motivated.
I remember there was a time, and it wasn't that long ago, where if you had a differing opinion, people were like, okay, that's your opinion, I don't agree, on to the next thing. Now it's so personal.
I mean, it's identity, you know what I mean? And I think that is absolutely by design, to make things as divisive as possible and to make it very much good versus evil, and then a definition of what that looks like. You know what I mean? And sadly.
And have you lost people with your logo, which is a rainbow?
Yeah, you'd be shocked how many people see the band logo of a rainbow heart with one of our hit songs being Resist, that get upset because we like post a factual account of like Gestapo in Portland.
Yeah.
Like, people are like, what the fuck, blah, blah, blah. It's like, why are you following us if you don't like this opinion? Like, we're not quiet about it. We shout the shit from the fucking rooftop. We're constantly putting out content with what our opinions are. And, since the George Floyd incident, we've been posting basically news updates almost every day, being at least one source for people. And, like, that's amazing because we get messages. Like, I got a message like 2 days ago from this 17-year-old queer girl that like can't come out to her parents. She's in like fucking bumfuck flyover state, and the only place where she's able to get anything from anybody that she can communicate and get community is with some of the stuff that we're doing. And like, that is so amazing, because I know like how odd it is to be alienated, and how much that like it's not okay for you to be who you are, right? And to offer somebody a place of sanctuary or understanding for what can be very confusing, especially when you're 17 years old and queer in a Christian family in a flyover state where everybody's running around basically saying that you're the worst, you're evil incarnate just for existing. Like, the fact that person can have a moment where they feel like they can belong, or at least they're not wrong for existing, is an amazing piece that I'll do that every day if I can reach one person.
That's great. And I can't think of a better way to end this. I can't believe we already talked for like 55 minutes.
Oh man, well, we'll have to do it again, please.
We definitely have to do it again. I definitely, hopefully we'll have a studio at some point, but we'll Zoom with you definitely anytime. But let everybody know where they can find you and where they can listen to your music.
Oh, absolutely. And once again, thank you so much for having us on. Becky and Rick, I know that they want to be a part of this, but, things being like that.
Hopefully we get everybody next time.
Yeah. And we'd love to do it again anytime. DirtyCakes Band. It's on Instagram, whatever. Just type in DirtyCakes, and I think we come up before all the erotic confections.
Yes.
You can check out you go to YouTube, type it in, and the biggest songs right now to check people out is Resist 45, definitely big. And in the next week or so, our first single off the new album, Photograph, is going to be coming out. So we got a music video for that we did with this wonderful guy, Paul, who's also done videos for Shania Twain. I mean, a million people. I'm not going to try to run off everything, but yeah, we're on anything that you're on, right? Like, so Twitter, Instagram, we prefer Instagram more than anything else. That's where we're most active. And YouTube and iTunes and Spotify, and check out the Bandcamp for merchandise. And, we still got a bunch of stickers and buttons and enamel pins, and every penny of that we take in, we are giving to charitable situations. So right now, our charity of choice for the month is the ACLU for the whole month of July. And come August, we might change it, we might not. In May, we were donating to the legal fund for those that were arrested for Black Lives Matter, and just trying to help get people out of, basically make bail money for people that were getting arrested for exercising their First Amendment rights.
That's right.
And right now we're supporting the ACLU because they're taking on this assault, a militarized assault on First Amendment rights. So we'll just keep doing that stuff as much as we can. But
the thing that conservatives have warned us about for years.
Yeah, absolutely. And now it's funny that the people that want the guns to protect from tyranny are the ones embracing tyranny, and will ultimately, when guns are used it as an excuse to strip the rights from every person in the country.
Not all of them. It's a subset, but I don't even want to get into that. I just want to say this has been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
It's good to see you again. I know we've done the shows together. It's been a long time, but Charley, say tell Rick and tell Becky I said hi, and thanks for having me. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. Again, we can do this anytime. I'd love to do it again with your co-host.
We're two fucking motor mouths. We can go on all day.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, and whenever
I can't wait till I get to see DirtyCakes live.
You and me both, man. I'd love to see the band play. I've actually never seen us play live. I'm always on stage. I'm always busy. I've never seen what we're live.
I'll grab your guitar. We'll figure it out.
I like it. All right, cool.
Thanks, I'll see you at Albertsons.